Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of O365A. In today's episode, we're going to be speaking about Microsoft Teams, the developer and extensibility story. So I'm going to pass it on to Curtis to lead us off.
Yeah, thanks, Abib. So, extensibility and development with Microsoft Teams, it's starting to become a much talked about feature set of Teams. And really, when we talk about extensibility, it's about tailoring Teams to tailor it for your organization and for individual teams to get whatever work done they need to get done in a collaborative environment. And why I think this Microsoft's vision for Teams and extensibility is so powerful. If you look at Teams, it's as much a platform as it is a client. And today, out of the box, Teams is sort of a uniform, one-stop shop client for users and teams to work across Office 365, the different workloads like Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive. And when we talk about extensibility, it's this rich ecosystem of ways to extend Teams to tailor it for a specific business purpose or a specific team. Um, and specifically, when we talk about types of extensibility, we're talking about integrating it with other applications and other even non-Microsoft platforms and non-Microsoft applications, which is really powerful because when you look at the changing workplace and the different types of tools that are being used by teams and individuals, often it will be applications and platforms from many different companies. And having Teams extensible to integrate with other platforms, other applications like Salesforce, really enables that single pane of glass client experience to be opened up to anything, to the whole world. So that's really powerful. And if you read some of the statistics that Microsoft has dug up and that are out there about the changing workplace and changing collaboration behaviors of teams and users, it's very real. There's things like 80% of employee time is spent collaborating, and 20% of your average knowledge worker spends their day just tracking down information. So being able to have everything in one client, bringing in data and workflow from other platforms and other applications can really increase productivity and increase collaboration. So I think it's a powerful vision. Microsoft is really starting to focus on the extensibility side of Teams now that the Teams client is a little more stable and feature rich. So, Dino, why don't you talk us through some of the different ways Teams can be extended?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Kurt. The extensibility story in Teams is certainly an in-depth and rich one, as you talked about. And I think there's over 300 applications available today in the product store. So there's lots of uptake going on with developers getting busy. There's several extensibility features that can be leveraged to enable the productivity within the channels themselves. So developers can leverage one or more of these features in a combination of the extensibility features to develop apps. So there's five I'm going to go over. Starting off, tabs is probably the simplest forms of extensibility with Teams. And tabs allow you to customize your team experience to include things that matter to you most. So, for example, you might be a help desk user. I think we've talked about this one in the past, where you've got help desk tickets that are coming in, and you could simply have a tab that has your help desk application in. And there's a couple of apps already published by some third parties that allow you to do your help desk ticketing right in Teams. So now, the benefit of that is that you're now, you're in Teams, you're doing your daily work, you can action on your help desk tickets, the queues that are assigned to you, and then without having to leave the Teams app. And that's really the whole part of this experience, is being able to work within the one application to get your day-to-day work done. So tabs is really probably the most simplest form. Moving on to the next one, which is connectors and actionable messages. So that in terms of connectors, these allow you to these allow content and updates from services that you frequently access to be directly delivered into the channel itself. So imagine having your Twitter or GitHub accessible right in your channel itself. So, you know, I've got a channel in one of my teams where I've got a Twitter feed that searches on anything UC related, Teams related, Skype for Business. So those messages appear right into one of my channels. I don't have to open Twitter and look for that stuff on my own. So that's pretty powerful. And the sky's the limit. There's a lot of different apps that you can pop in. Another cool example would be the ability for a developer to see an output from a test build or an app they're working on. You know, so they're running a QA test or something on it, and the output of it could just appear right in a team to let them know when it's finished. Or, you know, a sales team getting a live update of their pipeline in Salesforce. You know, in terms of actionable messages, think about approving an expense report right from the channel as well. So your manager gets an expense report and they approve it right in that channel. That's pretty powerful. So, and this stuff can be created using simple webhooks into your line of business app. So if you've got web extensibility, you should be able to easily put that into Teams. Next, we have bots, and you know, a bot by definition is, you know, an automated program that allows you to interact with a cloud service through chat messaging. So within a Teams channel. So you're in your Teams channel, and you've probably T-Bot was one of the first ones that Microsoft developed, and you know, you can ask it natural language. So you basically just speak like you would ask a question, and T-Bot will respond and give you some answers about something. So you could say like, who does, you know, Habib Mankel report to, and it'll give you his direct reports or who his boss is. Or you might want to ask who is the subject matter expert in this particular area in your company, and it returns information about that. So again, right, you're right within the Teams application, you're able to create a bot that can help you in that regard. And then moving on, there's an activity feed as well. And so that was one of the areas that I really like. I basically live in the activity feed in Teams. I think it's very powerful because the first thing I do is just check the activity feed to see what's happened since I've been away. And it's an easy way for me to quickly see, it's sort of aggregator to see what's been going on in Teams in all the different channels I've subscribed to. And as the more and more channels in Teams, or the more and more channels you become a member of, then it becomes more powerful because I don't have to go into each channel directly. I can just look at the activity feed and decide what I want to look at the moment. So, and you know, to respond without having to go through the entire thread kind of thing. So that's another great example of extensibility in Teams. And lastly, there's something called compose extensions. So as the name suggests, you know, compose extensions allow you to compose content right from your compose window in Teams, so where you're actually typing messages. So just like you can easily select a Giphy today in Teams when you're typing a message, you can grab a compose extension like a YouTube video or the weather forecast for Toronto and directly embed it into your message window without having to like switch apps, go to the Weather Channel network, copy the data, come back to Teams, paste it, you know, which is kind of tedious. So now you can just, you know, you just click on the ellipsis menu. You can access the application you want and just drop it in there. It's quite fast. So, you know, there's a bunch of other examples. There's a ton of great materials on some of the stuff, code examples on Channel 9 and in the tech community. So check it out if you want to learn more about compose extensions or any of the other options you have in extensibility. So do go and do that. And, you know, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Hab, and he's going to talk about a line of business apps and the Teams store.
Yeah, thanks, Dino. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, once you have you know, created your application utilizing, you know, the Microsoft Teams developer platform, obviously your application can be utilized to provide content for a single service or multiple services or capabilities. So when you develop your application and you're ready to publish it, there's a number of locations that you can put your application into or push it into. So one of them is the Teams store, which you can natively see within the Teams applications in the bottom left-hand corner. You can click on that as, if permitted, as an end user or a Teams administrator, and add these applications into your team itself. And then, as Dino was mentioning, using that extensibility, adding in the tabs and stuff like that for those particular applications and such, right? Another one is the corporate store, which would be the line of business application. So if you have a company portal or utilize the company portal with from Microsoft perspective, you can push these different line of business applications into the company portal, so they're published for the specific users that are going to utilize them. And then in addition, there's another one, for instance, called side loading, in which you develop the application specifically for your tenant itself. Because I guess the whole part of utilizing this extensibility is that your business requires something different than the default configuration of what Microsoft Teams provides you, right? So every business is different, so you're going to require different functionality, as Dino mentioned, maybe a call center application or such. So when you develop the application, it's the side loading is essentially pushing this application specifically within your tenant, and not allowing it to be part of any other stores, right? So the Teams App Store is something that is a public store that other companies have published applications in there. The side loading is specific to your tenant. And one interesting one that I stumbled upon is the App Source store, which was primarily the Office store, where you can actually push or publish your application, like extensibility types like SharePoint and Exchange add-ins or Office add-ins. You can publish it into that particular store and then push your application into the necessary, or push your app that you built into the necessary application, whether it's SharePoint or Teams or et cetera and stuff like that. So, and again, as Dino and Curtis mentioned, these applications typically integrate with Teams by adding a tab such as Trello showing up as a tab to integrate like that, or there's additional storage, online storage providers if you have purchase a service through or you're migrating from and you still need to be able to access that content from that storage provider, you can add that as a tab within your team and also access it when you're trying to upload those files there as well. So just a couple of examples from that extensibility integration perspective, and I'll pass it on to Michael.
Yes, some good examples I think the guys have covered is, you can simply create a website tab and you can integrate your third-party portals or your internal tools. You're able to surface your SharePoint site. So maybe you've created some document automation in SharePoint. You can now surface that as a tab. You can actually take a package SharePoint framework, a web part, and load it into Teams. That's something pretty new. So you can, code for one platform and surface it into another. Some of the default Microsoft apps are, Tbot was a great one to show kind of the power of bots and stuff. That has been deprecated, so now it's Help. And then there's Microsoft Flow, OneNote, Wiki, Stream. An interesting one is App Studio. So it's a Microsoft apps that allows you to build apps for Teams. So that's a pretty powerful one that you can kind of walk you through building out the Azure bot framework and tying that all in and then packaging it up and importing it into Teams. Some of the ones that I've used or followed is Remember This. That's by Tom Morgan, a fellow MVP. You can mention his bot and it will remind you to come back to a conversation in an X amount of period of time. Another one is Assistant from Zoom AI, not to be confused with Zoom, the conferencing service, but this is a bot that will read your calendar and basically will give you morning briefings of your day of calendar items. Just before you join your meeting, it'll tell you, who's all attending. You can ask it some questions. You can get, the weather. You can extend it to do some functions like document creation and some pretty cool stuff. One of my favorite ones is actually AtBot. It's like a bot builder, so you can create enterprise or personal bots to automate using Microsoft Flow. So I've built some of my own bots as well to create documents, and some of my IT stuff I've automated, so I'm not doing some of the button clicking. I've seen some demos on SalesTim, which is integrating into Salesforce, eventually CRM. Another one is Mio, M.io, and it's actually doing cross-platform messaging. So you can have channels in Teams, Slack, and WebEx, and they all could be consistent across or synchronized across. So you have different groups of folks using different products, but then everyone's having that same conversation. Some of the easier ones that you can build on your own are like FAQ bots. There's an Ignite video that shows you how to build one of those bots in like 10 minutes. It's pretty powerful what you can do with out-of-the-box solutions. And then as we're going to see more and more of these enterprise bots, so focus-built tasks for your enterprise, things like querying the enterprise handbook or employee handbook, maybe ticket creation, maybe just FAQs of your website, expense forms. It's kind of anything that is kind of menial, get that automated. We saw that Walmart is aligning in like a strategic partnership with Microsoft. They're doing their digital transformation in retail. And they're actually going to be creating a bot just to respond to employee benefit questions. So there's enough demand on their HR that just taking that one function out and making it a bot could free up some of their user cycles.
Yeah, those are some great examples. So, Michael, I've used the Zoom.ai, which gives you a nice calendar in the morning of your upcoming meetings, and it's pretty cool. It's you can say using the adaptive card feature, it'll ask you, do you want to learn more about person X who is in the meeting? And sometimes it's hit and miss, but sometimes it's really useful actually. So what do you guys think? I'm actually pretty excited about this. My biggest complaint is I haven't had time to play with all the integrations as much as I wanted to, but I'm a pretty big Trello user. I really like the experience of Trello, and it's great. I can just add it as a tab in any channel, and I can access a Trello board, which is basically a nice card layout that you can use to do project planning or implement an agile Scrum board. So I think having that extensibility very easy in a very easy way in all the teams and channels makes Microsoft Teams a fantastic one-stop client, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft has that big push in, AI, machine learning. So we're going to see all these tools being released. I mean, Dino was saying like 300 apps in the store today. That's just going to start ramping up. And I mean, you look now and there's 4 different types of assistants that can look at your calendar, and there's a whole bunch of different project managing tools. So I think, the more the merrier, but it is going to be a point where it's going to be daunting to figure out which one fits your needs, right? So there's going to be that time suck on, testing them out, seeing, where it fits into your work day, what you can automate, maybe how you integrate into your other systems, just so you can focus in on your daily tasks.
There's going to be someone's going to write a bot to help you find the right bot or other extension into Teams. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, to me, it seems like we're getting close. Well, eventually, I'd like to be able to just use Teams, and not use Outlook. And I find that, already from the, especially in the MVP community, I think we've talked about this in the past. We certainly are using Outlook far, far less than we used to use in terms of the DLs and everything. And I love that we can just be in Teams and I can get all the info I need, and of course, collaborate there. So the next step for me would be to just not, just do away with email. We're not there yet, but perhaps there'll be a way to, look at email from within Teams as well. I know a lot of people have talked about that in the past, but we'll see.
But Dino, if we get rid of email, where you can get notified that there's missed activity in Teams.
Right. Yeah,
SMS. Yeah.
that's right. We'll get a text message. You're
Yeah.
missing all the fun.
Yeah, I mean, it really exposes that Teams has become its own platform, and it's, finding the right solutions for your business and your employees. But I mean, you look at Skype for Business online, like that's just one sliver of the Teams ecosystem. Collaboration, that's just another sliver. Meetings, another. So it'll be interesting to see, like, over the last year, what they've accomplished and what they're going to accomplish in the next year.
Indeed.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Great information. I think it was an awesome episode. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening in, and hopefully we'll catch you on our next episode.
See you later.
See you.